What's your
empiricism was the empiricism analogy disanalogous?
I'm talking about the unicorn analogy right now.
Well, the unicorn analogy is kind of not value delineation because it doesn't really portray exactly, right? It talks about ontology, but then in the realm of metaphysics, petaphysics, and then nomological standards, that is just like a collage and what is it called? Aggregate of like different fields of ontology. So that's why it's different and very discrete. So I definitely hold to the idea that the empiricism analogy is far better. So what's the contention with the empiricism one being disanalogous? And if it's not, then you would have to bite the bullet on your position in validity.
Okay, so my whole point is you stated that it wasn't real. You then stated that it was real. That's not what you meant. Okay, cool.
Okay, you're kind of just red herring. I asked you what was the disanalogy within the empiricism analogy.
To be fair, when I was initially,
if you want, I could reiterate it or
again. To be fair, I was going to state my point again for maybe the 5th time now, and every single time I do, you apparently become a mind reader and know exactly what I'm going to say before I say it. I don't know how you're doing this.
I'm just asking you, what's the contention with the empiricism analogy?
Yeah, see, I'll answer that once I get my point across, because it's not going to be
that's fine. Then you could go ahead.
Okay. So again, for the 6th time now, you stated for that text debating wasn't real. I'm going off what you originally stated. It wasn't real, but you had knowledge on text debating, and you've been in text debating. You've done it. That's what you said verbatim. So with that being stated, that means it cannot be a fake concept if you've been involved in text debating. It's a difference with your whole unicorn analogy of, hey, I know I know of unicorns, but they're not really like real.
So just let me know when you're done.
That's completely different since, again, you've been involved in text debating. You do text debating, or you did text debating before you stopped. Now, I don't know about this whole valuable argument, but...
Well, yeah, that's what I literally said.
That's easy, bro. Like, hold on, do you remember like the epistemic justification?
Wait. Can you mute mentality? So yeah, so now that you finished, tirading, right? So what's the contention with empiricism analogy? Since you said you would touch on that after. Okay, yeah. So when I make an argument that's on the grounds epistemically on a framework that instantiates any form of worldview, right, for intelligibility, such as empiricism, I'm diluting to that reference point. But if the reference point in itself is fallible, which would lead to indicative false inferences, then the inference that is obtained may be viable under the standard, but the standard's truth doesn't viably hold. That is indicative and a direct delineation to the argument that I presented with text debating. Text debating is rudimentary, right? It is a concept that logically exists, right? Just as I can say empiricism exists, but the value property of the propositional state is not viable enough to be conceived as a truthhood. So when I say the worldview of empiricism as an epistemic basis is true, right? Or is in some way, let's say, exists, right? If I say empiricism exists, that's taking the worldview of the idea and the ideology of its foundation being a function and a mechanism for foundating intelligibility. So when I say text debating does not exist, that means it is not viable enough as a standard, a framework to infer debating from. So thus, it doesn't matter if it can be conceived. I was talking about the validity. I said after, I think text debating does not exist because it is not a viable standard to meet debate from.
Okay, so why is that?
So you keep ignoring my extrapolation and what I univocalized on, but you keep attacking the locution that's arbitrary. Because
so
if I
already
extensively said,
you asked me when
I already extrapolated on the fact that I'm talking about the validity of it when we're even in text. So we can't just ignore that.
Okay, so you asked when we first started, where did you contradict yourself? And before I could even finish on where you contradicted yourself, you like interrupted me 6 to 7 times before I could even.
I already let you finish talking.
No, I'm just saying beforehand, before I could even finish, which is why I'm still on that point specifically, was because you interrupted.
Finished, and now I let you finish the entire.
I know, but you're saying you don't understand why I kept going back to that point, and I'm telling you I wouldn't have to keep going back, or I didn't have to keep going back to that point if you didn't interrupt me the 5-6 times.
Okay, that's not relevant.
Blinks? Is that not what you just said?
Sorry?
Did you not say I was not really understanding or like entertaining your validity point, and I kept going back on the
you
other
ignored
point.
the validity. Yeah, you ignored the point.
Okay, and that's what I'm saying. I didn't ignore it. You asked me a question before I could answer the question. You interrupted me five,
But
six
your
times
initial
until I
argument,
finally
yeah, even when
blinks,
you finish your entire tirade, right, or constructive speech, whatever, when
which
you
is 5
finish
minutes
that,
ago.
yeah, when you finish that, it did not involve the statement of me saying it is the value property that I'm targeting for validity. You ignored that. So you're you're ignoring a very fundamental aspect of my argument.
I guess you're not understanding what I'm saying. I'll say it again.
So
I
to
didn't
make
say
it very,
I'm not ignoring your validity point. I'm telling you,
okay,
the
well, that was
first
the point I was
question
making.
you asked me, when we joined VC was, where did I contradict myself? Okay,
Yeah, I never made
told
a
you where
contradiction.
okay, I was telling you where you made your contradiction, which was the whole, this isn't real, blah, 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 and then your analogy and stuff. Before I could finish telling you where you made your contradiction, you interrupted me 5 to 6 times up until 5 minutes ago when I could actually finish that entire point. So now we're on the validity part.
Okay, so to make this
saying
clear, you're not realizing in the set of the premise that I proposed as a propositional state, I inferred extrapolation. So a contradiction would be now, I believe text debating does not exist because it's invalid. A contradiction would be I believe text debating exists and is valid. So when did I do P and not P?
I guess you're still not understanding what I'm talking about.
I am, but you're not understanding that you're ignoring the fundamental aspect of my argumentation.
Okay,
You're saying you're saying, well, you initially said this, ignoring the fundamental aspect that I said right after. Literally, it was sequential to my initial statement in reference to why I hold the view text debating does not exist. So now that, are you going to say now you're not cognizant of the fact I just made it very evident I'm targeting validity? So what's the argument?
Is there a judge?
You didn't hear me 12 times. I don't think we have a judge really, since it's supposed to be a question,
okay.
I guess.
You keep saying I'm not listening to you. Just make your point, because it's not really going to target.
I've made my point like multiple times already. I already told you I wasn't targeting the validity point since that wasn't my argument.
Well, that's my point. But that's my point.
Okay, but I'm telling you, I never even got to that point because you never let me finish my contradiction argument. Okay, and then you're adding the validity part to the contradiction. Blinks. Oh my God, that's how I know you're not listening.
What do you mean blinks?
What the heck's okay, that? So let me finish. Let me restate what I said.
Brother brother had a special week with blinks, bro.
All right. You stated.
Wait, I'm not trying to overtalk you, but to make this clear, so you don't just obfuscate. I don't want you obfuscating. Do not cherry pick the initial statement and dissect it away, right, and relegate my inference as the function of intelligibility that was an extrapolation. So if you gotta understand, the value property in relation that was validity is an essential part. So they're inbound, they're together. There's no denying this. So when you target my initial statement, that is inbound and bounded by my extrapolation as well.
Okay, so
because if you ignore the extrapolation, that's cherry picking. Okay, so and quote mining as
well. Okay, so you stated what was my contradiction. I told you the contradiction before I could even finish my contradiction. You added on.
I didn't add on once again.
Okay, oh my God, you added on to the validity part. Okay,
I didn't add on.
I'm talking about that's literally okay.
No, adding on is to add an additional segment that was not from its existence. Okay, extrapolating is adding value from an existing mind as to why someone produces the conscious idea with the logical indicative reasoning as to why they hold this position. So me saying, I believe this, and then you say, oh no, now you're contradicting yourself. I'm like, no, I'm not, because the reason why I said it doesn't exist is because of this. So I infer logical reason as an entailment to why I said it doesn't exist.
Okay, so
you're not targeting my argument, you're targeting my premise.
No, you're not listening though.
Okay, I just want to make it clear. This is going to go in circles. Are you going to argue against my actual argument that involves the validity?
That involves the validity? Again, I would have got to that point, and I could still get to that point if the initial point of what your contradiction.
That's not the contradiction, because you're going to continue to circulate to the initial statement.
No, you're not listening at all, and I can tell that's clear because I had to repeat myself 5 times, and you expect me to understand you when you're not understanding anything other than your own premise, I guess, and what you extrapolated on.
You could go ahead and talk.
That's fine because I've already tried to.
You just said multiple times. I'm not listening to you, and then you say it's not.
Why isn't text debating viable? Why isn't it viable?
Because it's rudimentary.
Okay, why is it rudimentary?
Wait. We're not getting into the point of whether or not it's viable or not. We're on the point of whether I contradicted myself.
And
so where's the
again,
contradiction?
I targeted where you contradicted yourself at.
Okay,
I'm not talking about the viability part, since you extrapolated on that after what I was talking about.
You're lying. You're being very, very disingenuous.
You literally just said you extrapolated on that point.
No, you're being disingenuous.
Okay,
wait,
so I'm
to
lying
make this clear. Yeah, you are. You want me to explain why you're lying?
Can somebody pull up? Wait, it's recording right now. Can somebody pull up
it's
maybe
recording
2 to 3
Yeah, I'm
minutes?
recording.
Can you pull up 2 to 3 minutes ago where he said that he was extrapolating on the validity part? Unless I'm lying.
Wait. That's not what I'm saying you're lying about. Maybe open your ears. Okay, so when I said you're lying...
That's exactly what I was just talking about.
No, when you said that...
you called me a liar.
Yeah, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about you lying, saying that you proved a contradiction. But there's no not
I attacked your contradiction, and I told you 12 times what I was talking about with the contradiction.
Okay, but that wasn't in relation to my argument. That was in relation to a projected argument you invented from your mind by, taking the initial statement and ignoring extrapolation.
Okay, so again,
so where's the contradiction?
How many times do I gotta say this? How many times do I gotta say this?
Okay, hold on. Don't overtalk me. Let me just finish. So my
nigga said, don't overtalk me after overtalking 12 times. Oh my god.
Here, after I say this, I'm gonna let you talk, and hopefully you don't obfuscate and prevaricate away from the question, and then just continue to tirade.
Go ahead.
Okay, so after I make this clear, I want a response in relation to this, not some other. Okay, well now back to the. I want this as a response. So when I make the claim, right? Because when you keep trying to cherry pick and quote my initial statement and segregate it from my extrapolation, which is not. That's not how that functions. Then that would mean there's no causal mechanism, and you're just attacking the premise because you're ignoring the reason that's indicative to my premise's view held as an ideology. So when I say text debating doesn't exist, the P would be I believe text debating doesn't exist in relation to it being invalid. So not P, which would be a contradiction, with me saying I believe text debating exists because it's viable. So that would mean I'm saying it doesn't exist and is inviable. And then in another state of affairs, I'm saying text debating exists and is viable. So when did I contradict myself and claim that it was viable? So I want to exactly.
You're lying.
So when did I ever say it was viable? That's the state of affairs I want. That would be the only viable truth maker. If there's no, by virtue of my claim of it then later having validity, there would be no connotation, or not connotation, but relation to it being a contradiction of any state of affairs. So if you can't represent a state where I said it is invalid, and then a state where I say it is valid, there's no entailment of any contradiction of any sort. Okay. Unless you're going to quote mine, which would be fallacious and would refute your own argument because it's a logically errorous argument. I mean, obviously, don't just take some aspects of what I say and then ignore others. So when did I say it was viable? That's what I want to know. If you could present that, I would gladly say I was, contradicting myself.
Okay, so for I don't know how many times we're in right now. As I said again, and I'll just say this again, I
said it in the beginning. I don't want you saying.
Okay, I don't care what you said. No. So here's the problem with your whole little argument that you keep asking. You keep asking me questions, right? And every time I try to answer, you interrupt me, and then you ask me a new question, and I try to answer that, and you interrupt me. So let me finish. And again, this is my point. You're proving me right by interrupting.
Everyone in the call, watch him prevaricate from my question.
No. See, no. This is not prevaricating.
No, continue. Watch you prevaricate.
For the last time, you asked me as soon as I joined, right? Hey, where was my contradiction at? I told you your contradiction. You used your unicorn analogy. Okay, before I can attack that and understand your unicorn analogy and make you understand my analogy, you interrupted me 6 times. I counted 6 times before I could even finish what I was talking about. And then in between you interrupted me, you were talking about how you were extrapolating on the validity of the whole thing, so that wasn't a contradiction. So before I could even get over my point, now there's the whole new, hey, I extrapolated on this. So what is the contradiction?
In the beginning as well. That's a lie.
My point right here, you're proving me right still. So you said, hey, where's the contradiction in my extrapolation?
If you start to make fabrications.
Where's the contradiction? Where's the contradiction in my extrapolation? I said, well, I wasn't talking about your extrapolation. I was talking about your claim.
So then there was no claim.
There were blinks. Okay.
Wait. You don't realize. I think you're like very ignorant.
I don't think we have a. I don't think you know. At this point, we need one.
So I don't think you're understanding the modal system of how logic functions, right? So you understand. Wait. You realize that extrapolation is a precondition to the logical indicative reason as to why I promoted the claim in by any means, by any standard. So if you're going to ignore the reason to fulfill the claim and then just take the claim in itself, that's quote mining. There's no context in relation to why it was proposed. So that would be fallacious and defeat your position. Or you agree in the actual fact that there was extrapolation, and then try and defeat that position, which was never done. I never said it's valid and then invalid. So then either way, you're going to defeat it. It's a true dichotomy of loss either way. So are you going to...
Can we get a
wait. Are you going to ignore
judge?
the reasoning or not?
No, it's not that I'm ignoring it. It's just that it's clear that both our points are not getting across. You're not listening to mine and expect me to.
I did listen to you. I listened to you.
You didn't.
I literally did.
If you listen to me, I wouldn't have to repeat myself over 13 plus times. I promise you I would.
Yeah, and every time you repeated yourself, you regurgitated, and I already defeated that claim.
Okay, so you think you defeated the claim before the claim was even finished?
Yeah,
okay,
and then
apparently you have super thought, and I say one word, and you know.
Well, yeah. Wait. So yeah, apparently I do have super thought, because then when I let you finish your tirade, it added no more sustenance, and my argument against what you said without finishing still followed.
Okay.
So yeah, I guess unless you're just adding verbosity and making the statement you made and just adding more words to make it longer, but it gets nowhere further, which pretty much is what
my whole point is I wouldn't have to keep saying the same thing over again if I wasn't cut off. I can't get cut off half of what I'm saying, and then I start over again, and then get cut off again, and then get cut off again, and then get cut off again, and then it keeps going until I finally finish what I was saying, and he asked me a question that has me going back to what I was initially saying, and now I'm repeating myself again.
Yeah, so I think the only way to get past this is to face the dilemma firsthand. So the problem is you're ignoring the extrapolation. So that means either...
And I told you beforehand, you added the extrapolation on after what I was...
Well, it wasn't added because it was in the text.
You literally said you added your extrapolation.
No, I didn't say I added it. I literally opposed that. I literally said, no, addition is to add sustenance that was never initially there. Extrapolation is the indication of reason as to why promote an idea in the first place. The grounds and basis to promote an idea, right? If I say unicorns exist, right? And then I extrapolate, because there's evidence or anything. Me then adding something would be something that does not relate to the reduction of the idea. Meaning, me saying unicorns exist and then adding gorillas exist does not follow. There's no indication of extrapolation. Extrapolation is not adding.
So extrapolation is not adding on to your point at all?
Well, it's adding on to my point. It's not adding from what was in there.
Okay. What? Thank you.
Yeah, so now either you would have to deny that extrapolation is a precondition, or you would have to deny or prove the fact that my extrapolation was invalid, or like the fact that I did say it was valid and invalid in two different state of affairs. Are you going to deny my precondition?
So can we get a judge? Somebody who could like locally speak.
Well, are you just going to ignore the statement? You're acting like what I'm saying is just invalid and that we're not getting nowhere and we just need a judge. What I just said was valid. Are you denying the precondition of extrapolation? Because that would mean there's no argument at all. That means I just conveyed a belief.
Do we have a judge in here who could speak?
Okay, fund the games. You can judge this because this guy's just being genuinely idiotic and debating in bad faith.
Yeah, debating in bad faith. Yeah.
Well, yeah, you're ignoring the precondition of an inference.
I wasn't.
What?
I just want to go to conclusions on this point. You already called circular reasoning, did you not?
Well, yeah, on you. I mean,
exactly.
Are you going to deny your deal? Because fund the games. Can you unmute?
I just want to go to conclusions.
Yeah. What is it?
Okay, so right now we're in a dichotomy of either he proves the state of affairs in which I made both the claim it is viable and inviolable, or he has to contend my precondition. And we're not getting past this point. And he's just like ignoring the dichotomy completely and not making any arguments and calling out for a judge.
So are you saying he's halting the dialectic, or are you just saying he's going circular? What are you trying to say?
Kind of both.
I see. So,
so is he denying the dichotomy? That's what I'm confused about. Are you denying the dichotomy, Hiko?
Hiko and what?
Are you denying the dichotomy?
No, it's just that again for the 12th, 13th, 14th time.
So
I keep having to. Okay, so this is my point. I keep having to repeat myself, and I keep getting interrupted before I even finish saying what I keep saying. I keep having to repeat myself because of you interrupting me, and then when I finally finish, you go back on what I was saying, add something up. My bad, not add. Extrapolate on something else, and then I have to attack 2 points, and then I have to keep going back to my initial.
Well, I presented a dichotomy, so you only have to attack 1 point.
No, see, here's the problem with that. You asked me what your contradiction was. I said that. You said no. I was talking about my extrapolation. Okay, you said I was talking about my extrapolation on my validity point, and now I gotta attack your validity point when I was talking about your validity
let me explain
point.
this to Fun the Games. So what he doesn't understand is the fact that I made a claim, right? I claimed that text debating is invalid, or it doesn't exist, rather, right? Then I later extrapolated in text on the fact that the reason why I believe text debating is not a thing is because it's not viable. So when I said that extrapolation is necessary because it's the precondition in facilitating intelligibility as the framework to infer the consequent of the claim, right? Obviously, any proposition conveyed has an indicative reasoning. So the reasoning as to why I promote the idea and ideology and worldview that text debating does not exist is in relation to the validity. But he tries to quote mine and say, well, I'm attacking your initial statement without adding further stuff. But that means I'm not proposing an argument then. That means he's attacking a premise, which is just a belief. That would be an argument from ignorance because he's attacking something that was made non-inferential, because if there's no precondition of reasoning, that means I'm making arbitrary statements, which is not an argument. I didn't make an arbitrary statement, and I gave reasoning, but he keeps denying the reasoning. So it's in a dichotomy of either he proves, right? He proves the fact that I made the claim of it was valid and then not valid in two state of affairs, or he contends the fact that validity isn't a precondition to the initial claim. Because if he's claiming, oh, well, I'm attacking your initial claim, and if by definition my extrapolation is the precondition to that claim, which means it's necessitated, and you can't relegate the reasoning, or else it would be an arbitrary standpoint in which it would be an indeterminate presuppositional hypothesis in which he's contending an arbitrary, which would be non-fruitful and lead to nothing. Like that would mitigate the entire debate and relinquish it from being a debate, because the debate is intellectual arguments, but you're claiming my argument isn't an argument because you're denying my essential fundamental to the inference. So that's the dichotomy. There's literally nothing else. It's either he proves that in one instance it's viable and not in another instance, or he argues against the precondition of the extrapolation to the initial claim, which he's not doing either. I mean, Fun the Games, do you think that's a false dichotomy? Do you think I don't see what's wrong? That's like, it just logically follows. That's just sound. I don't see what's the problematic issue. But rather than attacking it, that's where he goes circular. That's the point. He's not even adding anything substantive filled to propose a logical contention. He's just saying he denies. So, Fun and Games, is my dichotomy wrong? He does have to commit to the dichotomy, right? And choose one of the options?
I mean, I'm thinking he didn't really refute to anything you said, so I'm just gonna take your word for it because he isn't really continuing on your interpretation of what he's been.
Yeah, I said even if he wants, he could promote the idea it's a false dichotomy, but it really isn't, because there's no other state of affairs. Where's the third way?
So before you joined, right? Before anybody joined, it was just me. He asked me where was his contradiction. Okay, so when he first texted in the server, or not in the server, in the text debate one, I think he said that to Spink or somebody else. He said that text debating wasn't a thing. That's not a thing, right? And I was like, that is a thing. And then he said later on, before it's rudimentary, blah 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 blah. He said that text debating is a thing. He knows of text debating, and he has done text debating. He's been debating longer than this person even knew what debating was. That's what he said. And I said that's where the contradiction was, right? So we joined VC. He asked me.
No, I gave the extrapolation before.
Yeah,
I gave the
you
facts.
Didn't hear. Okay.
But, okay.
So we joined VC, and he says, okay, where was the contradiction? I said, okay, you just said it wasn't real, and then later said that it was real, and you engaged in this thing, right? So before I could actually go over that entire thing, he interrupted me 6 times and then said, okay, well, in between those 6 times, well, I was talking about my extrapolation on the validity of it. So now you got to attack the validity.
No, that's false. That's false already there. When I interrupted you, it is false, because you're saying I interrupted you 6 times.
I don't even really have to say anything to prove my point, because he's doing it actively right now.
Well, do you know a Socratic method of dialect? If someone makes
go ahead, bro. You know exactly what I'm going to say. Go ahead. Tell him what I'm going to say.
So when you make a fabricated claim,
he's getting mad that I'm cutting him off.
When you make a fabricated claim within a Socratic method of dialect, the position of an interlocutor holds the value relation to have the ability to cut off another recipient of the party, because they are promoting falsehood in the verdict or the plea of a verdict to a judge. So yeah, if you're gonna tell the judge a false thing, I'm not gonna continue to let your tirade and constructive speech go on.
All right,
if it's
so
promoting
Fun
malice.
and games. He knows exactly what I'm gonna say now, so I'm gonna let him tell you what I'm gonna say for my words. Go ahead.
I
No,
wasn't talking
continue.
about what. Okay, sure. Yeah, I
No,
wasn't
yeah,
gonna.
because you,
Yeah,
no, you keep
okay.
interrupting me because you know
Okay, so
exactly
let me
what I'm
talk.
gonna say. So go ahead.
Well, I'm talking about what you said, not what you're gonna say. So
Well,
that's
okay,
irrelevant.
what I
But
said
yeah,
wasn't
okay,
false at
wait.
all.
So when he
But yeah, go
said,
ahead, tell him.
well, there's no need for falsification when there's refutation. What?
You said what I was saying is false, but it
What are you
wasn't.
even talking about? Huh?
You said what I said was false, but it wasn't. But since you are
It is
interrupting me
because
actively and
you
you
said,
know what I'm gonna say,
wait. It
fun
is
and
false.
games, he's gonna tell you what I'm gonna say from my words now. So I'm just gonna sit back and let him.
Okay, so yeah, what you said was false because you said I interrupted you 6 times and then brought up extrapolation, even though the extrapolation was made in text prior to me saying I know about text debating and I've done it. I said that after the initial statement of the fact I said text debating doesn't exist. And then
Okay,
when
so
we came in
you
VC,
clearly didn't hear me all the way.
and
You assumed. No, there
no,
is no wait, because I told him specifically
you literally
verbatim
said,
that in between the 6 times of me getting interrupted, you brought up the validity and
yeah,
extrapolation.
that's
That's
not
what
in
I said.
between
Yes, it
because
was. It was on the
no,
second time.
no, oh my god, right after you claimed the contradiction, right? Right after you said the contradiction, I said, but there's no contradiction entailed because you're ignoring the extrapolation. That's what I said. Right after you made your contradiction, you said, oh, at first you said it existed and then didn't exist. And I'm like, that's ignoring the extrapolation. And I said, let me even propose the idea of a unicorn because that doesn't even logically follow either way. Because the methodology of a semantics is what I was arguing with the unicorn. When I talked about the ontology of a unicorn can exist petaphysically, but also nomologically. So me saying a unicorn exists and then doesn't exist isn't a contradiction if it follows a philosophical standpoint that are not contingent or contingent in a non-delineation. So that's not even a contradiction when you propose.
Okay.
If I make the claim a unicorn exists or exists, let's say petaphysically, and then I claim after a unicorn doesn't exist nomologically, there's no contradiction entailed.
All right. So let
You
me just go
realize
ahead and
that,
prove
right?
you wrong. I'm gonna read the entire chat right now just to prove you wrong, so that you can stop interrupting me since you know everything apparently. Funny games verbatim. This is the chat that went on. He came and asked. Let's see. It's gonna start right here. I'll take. He said. So Spink
You can
said,
share your
"Anyone want to
screen.
debate?" Spink said, "Anyone want to debate?" Monkey Boy said, "Sure." Spink said, "Okay, wait." Monkey Boy said, "Can you VC tomorrow?" He said, Spink said, "I can't VC. I can VC to text."
Wait,
Also,
Hiko, can I interject you? Where is this from? Where is this from?
Yeah,
text
that's what I
debate.
said. Can you screen share?
I'll actually ping you to it. Funny games. So from there,
Just what I asked to do, so it doesn't necessarily mean it exists. For example, I might ask to do Hajjada doesn't mean it exists.
Huh?
Hajjada doesn't exist.
I don't know what it is.
Well,
Okay.
I'm saying that Hajjada doesn't exist.
That what doesn't
Does
exist?
Hajjada.
What?
I don't know.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, because it doesn't exist.
I don't know. I don't know what
example,
you're saying.
Hajjada. I'll type it out for you.
He's just giving gibberish as an analogy. It's an arbitrary analogy that he's proposing giving a non-lexical term.
Yeah, just because someone says they want to do something, doesn't necessarily mean that. For example, it is true. For example, I might say, let's do Hajjada, right? It doesn't exist. That doesn't because just because I want to do something that doesn't exist, right? That doesn't necessarily mean it exists after.
That wasn't my argument at all. I don't know. Okay. So funny games. This is what I was talking about right here. He said, why the fuck would you ask to debate? He said, I can text debate tomorrow. Let's fast forward a little bit. He said, okay. In response to Spink saying, I can text debate tomorrow, Monkey Boy said, that's not a thing. I'd never do it. Spink said, it is, bro. Okay, I'll text and speak and text. Monkey Boy said, okay, we can debate that, to his claim that it is a thing. Spink said, you can speak in VC. Monkey Boy said, no. I said VC, not text to VC. And then he also responded to him saying, you can speak in VC, then saying no. I said, text debate is a thing. Monkey Boy responded to me and said, we can debate that. And then he responded to Spink, we can text to VC debate if that debating is viable or something like that. I said, we can debate if text debating is a thing, question mark. And then he responded to Spink saying, I know about text debating, dumbass. I've been debating longer than you ever heard of debating. I know about it. I used to do it. It's not viable, prohibited in all codifications and debate forums. It is rudimentary and not
Forms.
rational. I just said forms.
You said forms, but okay.
Okay. It is rudimentary and not rational. That's viable. That's not viable. My bad. So again, I was talking about the whole initial claim. He was talking to speak about the that's what I'm saying.
Okay, so now
you were talking to speak about the viability point.
So we're
and
clear.
Then he brought it up to our stuff.
Okay, so fun and games. We're now clear on the point. The fact that he's targeting is the claim external to reasoning. So he's attacking an arbitrary. Okay, so I guess you relinquish
your debate was different between you and Spink's debate. I don't have to debate on Spink's behalf. I don't. Okay.
Well,
so
yeah,
you see what I'm talking about?
You just agreed you're attacking an arbitrary.
No. I agreed. I was attacking the initial point, and me and you came to agreement with the whole debate, not what you and Spink came to agreement with.
Wait, so I'm so confused. So Hiko, right? That's how you pronounce your name?
Hiko.
Okay, Hiko. So Hiko, do you deny the framework of logic?
Links.
Huh?
Do you deny the framework of logic?
What do you mean by that?
I mean, do you deny the framework of logic? You know, logic, right? Like prop logic, modal logic, all forms of logic, right? Do you deny the framework of logic?
No.
Okay, great. So you agree logic is the basis for intelligibility for any standpoint?
Sure.
Okay, so then you understand that a claim external to reasoning is an arbitrary.
So are you trying to imply that since you and Spink were talking about the validity of it, and me and you weren't talking about that, I gotta somehow argue on Spink's behalf?
Because you're not arguing.
That was your entire argument.
Because you're not
suck my dick, bro. What do I do? Man's trying to suck my dick, bro. What do I say to him?
Can you mute? Okay, so yo, mentality mute. So Hiko, you're not realizing that means you're not attacking an argument. You're attacking a belief. If it's an arbitrary, it does not relate to any composite relation of correspondence. If something is in correspondence under the modal system of CER, which is established by the National Science Institution and principle of logic, I mean, literally, it's what defines claim, evidence, and reasoning to being distinct and necessary to evaluate each other, right? I can't have a claim without evidence, or else it wouldn't be anything, right? Or at least to make an argument, it necessitates at least reasoning rather than evidence, right? So if I'm proposing a claim external to anything, and then you challenge the claim, you're challenging an arbitrary. Because if I propose a claim without inference to it being indicative of any truthhood or bearing truth under a standard of something being its truth maker, so I'm not in any way having an addiction to it is true by virtue of something. There is no by truth of something, so there's no virtuous standard within my assertion. So it's an assertion without reasoning. So it's an arbitrary.
Monkey boy, that was a bit sad. Why'd you leave the server and everything?
Yeah, because you're so annoying.
You're ass too, Brody.
You're an absolute idiot.
You're an absolute idiot. Listen to yourself.
You're an actual idiot.
You're an idiotic imbecile who just like kind of proclaims himself.
That's ironic. What a hypocrite.
I don't think anyone thinks I'm an idiot who knows me.
When do I be lying about beating large people?
I didn't claim to beat anyone.
No, you said I claim to beat large people. Is that what you said?
No, you just like kind of proclaim yourself a smart person. Well, maybe not directly, but it's pretty obvious who you think you are.
When do I be okay? So you're saying I'm making the implicit counterclaim of promoting that ideology.
Shut up. Talk like a normal individual. No one talks like that. You just
asserted I made an implicit counterclaim.
No. You're showing your cognitively decline. You don't know how to talk and engage in a normal conversation without just speaking like a normal human being.
Wait.
I understand.
Do you know what register of linguistics is? Do you know what register of linguistics is?
Speaking normally. What's the problem?
Do you know what register linguistics is?
I don't care. Answer the question.
If the subject matter
it's not a rhetorical question. Answer the question.
If the subject matter of a relation of a subject involves a dynamic.
Wow, it pertains to what we're talking about. That's crazy, but you can't just speak normally. Is that something?
Okay, so when I'm talking on a philosophical subject, you want me to talk non-philosophically normally? So you want me to talk non-philosophically on a philosophical basis?
I don't care.
That doesn't logically make sense. That's incoherent.
It definitely does.
So you want me to talk about a philosophical subject without implementing philosophical jargon?
If you'd like to debate, we can get Akno to judge if you'd like.
Debate on what?
You're not like smart or anything. You make yourself sound like an idiot.
But you made the implicit. I'm asking where I'm waiting for a response. You're not giving an adequate response. So give me an ample argument. When you claim,
you don't know how to
no. You said I proclaim myself. You said I proclaim myself this intellectual
Not directly,
person.
but you definitely.
Yeah, exactly. So you said I proclaim myself this intellectual person implicitly. So I'm asking, what is the
you
argument?
Definitely think you're.
What's the argument for that? What's the argument for that?
Argument for that? Look at the way you talk. You don't even know how to.
That's not an argument. That's an appeal to self-evident truth. Do you have an argument?
Basically, okay, do you not know how to stop talking? Like, this is what I mean. Like, are you socially inept? Like, is there a problem with allowing the person to speak, the other party to?
Well, you're not giving a response. So
do you want me to respond, or do you want to continue speaking? Because you seem
to be give a response. Are you going to respond to the subject I proposed? You're interrupting this. Can you leave the VC?
Can we continue back on the topic? And
yeah, I know. Corn is an absolute idiot who likes to just mess up stuff. Idiot. Anyways.
Hiko has been sending me images. I'm not sure what you're trying to show with this, Hiko. So can you
Okay, so again, with the
Hiko, either way, he's gonna be lying if he denies the fact I extrapolated. He was cognizant to the fact I made the extrapolation prior to the VC. So when I asked for the contradiction, that would entail his cognizance to the position of what I initially claimed. So if he's going to ignore an entailment of extrapolation, which is the framework, or I guess the framework of any epistemic or logical basis, we infer such through that.
You guys hear this guy?
But fun, right? Fun. This is what I was talking about.
You guys, he's not smart. He's saying very easy to understand. But
I'm not trying to make it esoteric, you idiot.
Anytime you want to debate with Akano, judging, of course.
You're such an idiot. What are you saying is not hard to understand? What an idiot. He's acting like I'm making intentionally esoteric arguments.
Okay, so Fun and Games, this is what I was saying, right? With the first screenshot, you can see I say it doesn't matter if it's viable.
Wait, did he send you the screenshot also of my extrapolation in text? He didn't ignore that, right?
Okay. So Fun and Games. So like I was saying, I acknowledge his viability thing, right? But I also stated that it doesn't matter if it's viable or not. You made the claim that it's not a thing, and then said it is a thing. So that's what I was talking about. I showed the screenshot after of him saying it's not a thing, and then him also saying I've been debating longer than you.
Oh, so you just agreed to my position?
No. So you're not understanding me. That wasn't what we were initially talking about. That's not what I was debating you about. That's not what I was going to debate you about. I was debating you about if it was a thing or if it wasn't a thing, not about if it was a thing and if it was.
Well, yeah, but do you think the claim without a basis is an argument?
Okay, so if you're asking about if something is a thing and if it's not a thing, that's one debate. If you're asking if something is a thing and if it's viable or not, that's a whole different debate.
What?
That's not the same thing.
That doesn't even logically follow. So if I propose the claim, it does not exist, and then you ask what's your argument for that reasoning that is indicative of that proposition that you propose, there must be reasoning to propose a claim, or else the claim's an arbitrary. An arbitrary does not have an argument, so there would be no debate because you're not attacking the sustenance of my argument. You're attacking the claim. If I say the moon exists, and then I give you evidence, and then you just attack the claim the moon exists, even though I proposed logical indicative reasoning as to why I made the claim and what facilitates the claim, then you're just attacking an arbitrary standpoint. So your entire argument's vacuous because you're not arguing against my argument. You're arguing against the premise, excluding the reasoning as to why I proposed it.
That's not a reason. You just added another claim.
That's not. Wait,
that's not because
I made this very
evidence
clear.
would entail that you would prove that it's not viable and
that is rudimentary. Okay, first of all, hold on.
Let me finish.
Well, yeah, you made something wrong. When you make a fabrication, I'm going to cut you off. So you realize...
Oh my God. Funny games. You can go ahead and say what your point is, because I'm done with this whole let me speak, and then I let him speak, and then when I speak, he cuts me off and tells me I'm wrong before I can even finish what I'm talking about. You're cutting me off before I can even speak, really.
I realize
and then you assume that I'm wrong. You realize that, okay.
I'm not assuming you're wrong. Whenever I cut you off, I'm not trying to predict what you're going to say. I'm attacking what you already conveyed, and to halt it from continuing. I don't want to tirade on an invalid claim. Okay, so when you made the claim, evidence is proof. That's wrong. Evidence is not proof, and proof is not evidence. You realize that, right? They're discrete.
Okay, so you called me out for cherry picking, but you didn't even hear what I said clearly because you were too busy on trying to interrupt me.
I literally just attacked the point you said. No, if you have evidence, you said.
What did I say?
Yeah, you said if you have evidence, then that means you have proof. But the proof and evidence are not the same thing. Okay, now you could continue. If you wouldn't like keep bantering and getting mad that I'm cutting you off, I would have just said that one sentence: proof and evidence are not the same.
No, that's not the case because you literally went on a 10-minute tangent about all these because you kept saying, to prove that apparently I was wrong about something after interrupting me 12 times.
Because you kept, because right now you continue to overtalk and continue to whine about me cutting you off. Go ahead. I already said it.
Okay, so are you going to be quiet?
Are you an idiot?
Are you going to be quiet? Are you going to be quiet? Are you going to be quiet and let me finish?
If you let me finish what I'm going to say right now,
no, you just said no. You literally just said you're done. You just said it. Is that not what you just said?
You just asked me if I'm done, right?
Oh, okay. So I'm not entertaining that. I'm not entertaining that. So Fun and Games. Okay, I sent you the screenshot where it says, "I know about it. I used to do it. It's not viable. Prohibited in all codifications, debate forums. It is rudimentary, not rational. That's not viable. It doesn't matter. So
it does.
Like I was saying, it doesn't. So like I was saying,
well, that would lead to an accent fallacy, but sure.
Okay.
Can I just check? I do have a question. So the point is obviously on the topic, but like, are you trying to say that you're debating for something else? You did not want to debate this topic, but you were like saying you wanted to debate this topic. Like, I'm kind of confused here on the points.
Yeah. Okay. So
games. Wait, let me tell you something real quick. Fun games, because this is the point. This is a point that I'm still winning. He's so like absent-minded and oblivious to the fact he's losing. So what he's not realizing is he's saying, I'm not attacking that additional extrapolation that you conveyed like afterwards, sequentially to your initial claim. I'm attacking that initial claim. But what I literally said dichotomously, I'm claiming that the extrapolation preconditions the claim. So if there is no claim, if there's no extrapolation, there's no claim. So I would have to retract that. So that means he either attacked the preconditioning of extrapolation to the claim, or there's no argument. I remember how many times I've said this. He keeps saying, but he added it after, and that's not what I'm saying.
If you're gonna debate Monkey Boy, you're gonna have to bring a dictionary.
Yeah, no, I can already tell. He went on like a 5-minute tangent that turned into 10 minutes because he's using like 12,000 big words.
Big words. How old are you?
I'm old enough.
But like, okay, what grade of school are you in?
I'm in a grade.
I know you're in a grade. I asked what grade.
Well, you obviously don't know because I'm not in a grade.
Wait, can we get back on?
You're out of school.
No, maybe I don't know.
No,
but yeah,
we just funny on topic than just talking about little.
I just want to know how well your education is, but okay.
I don't think that matters.
Okay, sure, whatever. It doesn't matter.
Okay, so Hiko, then what are you trying to say? Like, what are you trying to say with these images, like specifically? Because Monkey Boy is just saying that you're just going circular. I mean, basically.
Okay. So what I was initially telling him, which my screenshot support, I didn't care about the validity or the viability of the whole thing because that wasn't my point. That was him and Spink's argument. My whole thing was him contradicting himself by saying that it was not a thing and then saying he engaged in it.
You really lack like understanding philosophically. This is what I said.
No.
Wait.
So I have the screenshots right here that say verbatim.
I literally
that says verbatim. He asked
if you want, I can send a screenshot of me literally saying.
I sent the screenshot already. I sent it.
Yeah, okay. I can also send a screenshot of me saying that you're philosophically uninformed and you're proving it.
Okay. So anyway, Fun and Games. That's what I was talking about specifically.
Okay, so do you know the necessitation rule in modal logic?
So did you know that Fun and Games just asked me a question? I'm answering his question. I don't have to answer your question if the question that he asked me was pertaining to what I was talking about. So like, I know you're eager to interrupt me 12 million times before I can finish and try to correct me. But the whole thing is that's what Fun and Games was asking me, and I just told him what I was talking about, not what you felt like I should be talking about. So
I never even said what I felt you should be talking. Okay.
Yeah, no, but the fact that you're applying
when I cut you off and then attack initial statements.
So if he's asking me a question about what I'm talking about specifically, and I tell him, and then you feel the need to interrupt me and tell me what I'm saying is philosophical.
Okay, so you could let Fun and Games give whatever response.
Okay, then stop interrupting me.
Okay,
what?
I'm saying go. You continue to tirade. All you do is tirade.
No, nigga, you literally let me finish talking to him and then interrupt me to try to tell him that what I was saying was wrong after he asked me a question about what I was specifically talking about. And then after I tell you that you don't have to interrupt me, you tell me
no, I'm not attacking what either of you said.
Okay, anyway.
I
wasn't
even attacking either, but
go ahead, because he keeps proving my point of this interruption thing. Like, this is reoccurring. Go ahead.
You never denied the Socratic method of dialect. If you propose a fabricated claim, I can intervene in the interlocutor position.
Go ahead.
I'm not going to let a recipient of a party. Okay.
You guys are literally on a point. Like something like, I thought you were going to talk about this topic, but no, we're actually talking about this topic. No, you're misinterpreting me. I'm talking about this. I just want to point out the fact you guys are literally not even debating because you guys don't even know the topic. You're literally on a point.
I'm very clear of the topic. He's not understanding what I'm trying to claim. So he doesn't. Okay, funny games. This is literally what I was trying to say. He doesn't understand modal logic.
Games finish.
I mean, I kind of did. Can you just like mute? You keep
no. He wasn't even done yet. He wasn't even done yet. He was literally speaking. You still talked over him.
Well, once again, if someone makes a misinterpretation or fabrication, I have the right of passage to cut them off.
Okay, so even if that means he was gonna like elaborate on what he was saying?
He said that we both don't understand each other's position.
Okay, so can you actually let him finish and tell you?
They can go on a tangent, right, for like 10 minutes, but they're still debating. By the way, like
they're
just debating semantics.
Wait. So is there even a point to this? Can you guys just
Yes. I'm trying to make it very clear, but this kid won't. Can you just tell him to wait and I'll say when I'm done. I'll literally say I'm done at the end, without him cutting me off.
God. I know
okay, so he doesn't understand modal logic. When I say something is the case necessarily, that means it must be conditioned. If the condition necessity does not have a conditional state, the proposition fails to have adequacy. So when I say extrapolation is the condition as to why I ascertain an assertion, it is the inference of reasoning to logically ascertain that view in the first place. So he's understanding. Without the reasoning, I do not have the claim proposed. But he's trying to, quote mine and dissect and segregate the fact I'm proposing the reasoning with my statement. And he keeps saying, well, I'm attacking your initial statement. But a statement without reasoning to propose it has no indiction, meaning it's an arbitrary, meaning there is no argument to contend in the first place. If I say, like any arbitrary statement and have no reasoning, there's no argument contended. He's contending a belief. So he's not understanding. I'm making it very clear. And I said this in the dichotomy. He's attacking the fact that there is an invalidity and then a validity in two state of affairs, or he's attacking the fact it doesn't precondition. Remember I said this? I literally made it very evident. The reasoning is the precondition to make the conditional state of me proposing the assertion. So without the preconditioning, I retract my argument, because if I can't condition a claim with reasoning, then I have no reason to propose the claim. But he wants to attack just the claim specifically, nothing else, which he's not understanding. It's necessitated on a conditional state. So I'm done. I said I'm done. You could talk.
Are you actually done this time, or like, do I have a double meaning to it?
So fun the games. You could give your response.
Okay.
I mean, I literally said it was a precondition. I said this like since the beginning of the debate. So I said in the dichotomy, it's either he proves, the validity aspect, or contends the fact it is preconditional. So he would have to attack the conditioning of the reasoning to the assertion, which he's not doing. So once again, is this a false dichotomy, fun the games? I can clearly understand. He's not understanding reasoning. You can't propose a claim without reasoning, unless you're making an arbitrary, in which there wouldn't be a debate. Because if I go to a debate and just make claims, that there's no debate. That's just me opining, meaning presenting formal opinions. That doesn't follow as an argument. The point of a debate is to present arguments, and if I make a claim, I gotta give reasoning or evidence, and I'm presenting the reasoning. He doesn't want the reasoning, he just wants the claim. Like, what? And I made it evident it's the necessity of a precondition. So now there's no backing out of this. There's no other way. He would have to attack the preconditional state. I mean, that's a literal valid argument. If he's going to claim the initial statement does not need preconditioning, he would need to attack the precondition. So, did I present a false dichotomy? I mean, how many times do I have to ask this question? It's pretty evident that
you wouldn't have to act it if you wouldn't interrupt him. He literally said, "Oh, okay, let me," and then you interrupt him and went on a 5-minute tangent again. So nobody can answer your questions if you interrupt them before the
okay. Just let fun the games talk. You can be quiet.
Don't say that and then interrupt him.
I wasn't planning on.
You did it already.
Well, he didn't talk, so then I just continued extrapolating.
He didn't get a chance. You interrupted him.
Okay, so you can be quiet and let him respond.
Follow your own advice.
Okay, so you're not going to be quiet.
So you're not going to follow his advice.
I just said be quiet and let him respond, and then you just talk
right
after.
Right.
fun the games.
All right, so you're asking me if this is a false economy because what he's saying is arbitrary. You know, he's attacking something that's arbitrary, right? Okay.
No, I'm saying it's either he argues against the validity, right, which was the extrapolation. He argues the initial statement with the extrapolation, or he contends the extrapolation because he said he doesn't want to debate with the extrapolation, meaning the fact that my statement is preconditioned by the extrapolation, he would have to attack the preconditional state of the extrapolation.
Right. Okay. So if you guys don't understand,
So is that a false dichotomy? I mean,
these two options, using this option. So if the false dilemma is this, as you know, the false dichotomy is this. So these are two options, and he's doing this because he's not doing either of those options.
If you want, I could type it in chat to make it simpler.
No, that's fine. I know what a false dichotomy is.
No, not the false dichotomy, like the actual dichotomy I presented, so you could read it in text. The two options.
I don't think I remember the second option, but I remember the first. Yeah, what was the second option?
Well, what? Okay, well, which one's the first one?
The first one. The first one is what's the precondition one, right?
Yeah, and then the second one is if he doesn't target the precondition, meaning he accepts the extrapolation. That means he would have to prove a contradiction in my statement with extrapolation, meaning he would have to prove in one state of affairs where I said it doesn't exist because it's not viable, and then say it exists and it's viable. So he would have to prove when I said it was viable. Or he would have to contend the fact that the extrapolation is not a part, which is the preconditional one.
All right. All right, so before I answer your question, Hiko, you're just not gonna say anything to him? So has he everything that was right about his interpretation?
What did you say? Say that last part again.
That you know his interpretation of what he's trying to argue, like.
Yeah, I understand what he's trying to argue, and I've said this multiple times.
Okay, wait. Okay, then let's not go back to that. Let me just answer your question of this being a false dichotomy or not.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I can get stuff.
Are you just thinking about the thing, or?
No, I'm just thinking about the. So I'm just thinking those are the two choices, but he's doing this instead. So you're asking me if that's a false dichotomy, yes or no? So that's what I'm just thinking of. Okay, so.
Say Jerusalem.
Yeah, sorry about that. I don't think I understand what a false dichotomy is. I know, because if false dichotomy is when there's two options presented, but there's a third option.
When the two options are like wrong, there can be more than these two like options.
You're asking me,
Yeah, there's no third option. I mean, how is that possible? I mean, the argument is the fact that he's trying to ignore the extrapolation. But if the extrapolation has a capacity to be ignored, or rather, formally known to be dismissed, he would have to present an argument for the fact that it doesn't necessitate a precondition, that the extrapolation doesn't precondition the statement, the initial statement. Because once again, I can't represent the statement without the reasoning, because it's a precondition, unless he proves it doesn't necessitate the precondition. Or he just actually argues through the precondition, meaning you would have to prove through what I said of validity. So valid in one part, and then another time I say it's also not valid, right? That would be P and not P.
Okay, so if you argue a third one, then that would be incoherent. It wouldn't make sense. That's what you're saying, because it just wouldn't be logical. It wouldn't be supported by rationalism. So you're asking me that would be a false dichotomy then. But because you're saying the third option doesn't exist?
Is that a rhetorical question, or?
You said the third option doesn't exist, or did you say the third option just wouldn't be just really wouldn't be supported by logic?
There can be no third option.
So there can be no third option to the context, right?
Yeah, there's only these two options.
So are you asking what he's doing right now is a false dichotomy?
No, I'm asking if it's a false dichotomy, the dichotomy that I presented, and if it's not, he has to conform to the dichotomy and take either path.
So you're asking me if what he's doing right now would be a false dichotomy since he's not taking either of those paths?
Well, technically that's his burden, not yours as a judge. If he could present that's a false dichotomy, that would finally actually start going somewhere without him going circular. Do you believe it's a false dichotomy, Kiko?
At this point, we're at conclusions.
No, we're not.
Yeah, we are.
I never agreed to conclusion. First of all, second of all, there is no thing to be conclusive of. There was no arguments.
I asked for a judge so we can get past this point. You kind of agreed to a judge.
Getting past the point doesn't mean this is conclusion.
It's concluding on the point.
Okay, yeah, so that's not conclusions. Concluding on point and conclusions are not really.
Okay, when I said conclusions, I meant conclusions on the point.
Okay, so then why did you say? So why did when I said, can you present the false dichotomy? You said no, we're on conclusion.
Yeah, on this point.
If it's a conclusion, which the conclusion still necessitates you to present that, then what are you talking about? So is it a false dichotomy or not?
So funny games.
Oh, Nemesis. Yo, Nemesis.
Hey,
yeah, I need you right now because this kid is like not mentally up there.
Yeah,
that's cool. You can insult me. That's not gonna hurt my feelings.
I didn't really care.
No.
So Nemesis,
you must care enough to start attempting to hurt my feelings. But you can keep going.
Pico, can you like stop? I'm trying to just like talk to Nemesis.
You don't like that.
Well, did I present a false information or fabrication?
Yeah, you did. You said I'm not mentally up there.
Well, you're not. You're not mentally competent.
Can you prove that?
Okay, Monkey Boy. Would you mind explaining why you said some news?
Okay, when I said, sorry, what did you say?
No. Go on.
No. He said I'm the biggest skeptic. That's what he said.
Yeah. So when I said you're not mentally up there, I'm talking about the competency, not mental state of capacity to function.
Go ahead, prove that.
Right?
Show that.
Well, you already proved it. You're incapable.
No. I need you to prove it. I'm confused. How am I not? Like, I need proof on this.
Well, yeah. It's by virtue of not presenting a false dichotomy. That's the truth maker.
So because I didn't. So I'm not mentally up there because I didn't prove a false dichotomy.
Yeah.
So if I tell a little child that he didn't prove a false dichotomy, he's automatically stupid or something. Like, is that what you're implying?
I didn't say stupid. I said mentally competent. Do you know what competency is?
Okay, let's go look up the textbook definition of this, right? So
yeah, sure. Yeah, I'm very cognizant of it, but sure, yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
So it says having the necessary ability, knowledge, or skill to do something successfully.
Yeah. Do you have the capacity and mental ability and mental knowledge or knowledge to successfully represent a false dichotomy? I mean,
I don't know. You tell me. You made the claim that I didn't, so I
okay.
Don't know.
Well, yeah, it's by virtue. Well, yeah, it's by virtue of the inability to do so. So your ability is represented through what is reflected. So you not representing that shows. It's like if I tell someone to lift.
So because I didn't.
No, wait. You don't realize.
I didn't do it. I'm not mentally competent because I didn't do it. Like because I refused to. Not because I'm not capable of it. Because I refused to. I'm mentally
it's not
incompetent.
your refusal because if you don't present the false dichotomy,
you literally
that's a loss.
No, you said no,
yeah,
and then said I'm mentally
okay. Once again, you're not understanding the verbatim. You just hear no when I'm talking.
Okay, bro.
Okay, so what I literally just said is you don't have the mental competency. You agreed you're not capable of presenting a false dichotomy.
No, I said I wouldn't. I didn't say I'm not capable.
Oh, well, then you would have to concede.
No, I wouldn't. Yeah, funny
No,
games, bro.
that
Go
is
ahead, say
concession.
what you're gonna say.
Funny games. He said that he does not. That's not a concession. What? I mean, even you can accept. That's like literally retarded.
I don't have to answer your questions if we were talking to the judge.
Quiet. So funny games.
Questions are invalid.
If I present an argument and the oppositional party says I don't need to refute it, I'm like, because it's invalid. I'm like, represent how it's invalid. And he says no, it just is. Therefore, I'm not going to make an argument against it. But in order to represent the fact it is invalid, you need an argument. That's a circular position. He's not actually furnishing his position, right? If I say it's invalid without making the argument for how it's invalid.
We went to conclusions on the point with the judge, so that means any question you have to ask me, I don't have to answer because I wasn't talking to you.
Okay, funny games. Do you mind if you transfer your judgment to Nemesis? I think he's probably more intellectual, like philosophically more informed. I mean, I've talked with him on he talks about quantum theory all the time. Trust, he like definitely should. I know Nemesis, he would have the capacity actually, because you're still kind of like stuck, right? Or kind of like pondering like the dichotomy. So I think it's best in Nemesis. No offense, but I'm not trying to sound rude, but so Nemesis.
Yo, hiccup, bro. So
do you mind if you judge real quick? Hold on, let me give you the rundown, Nemesis, though. So the point was, I said text debating doesn't exist, right? And then I extrapolated saying it doesn't exist because it's valid. But before I made the extrapolation, he said it's a contradiction because before I made the extrapolation, I said I know text debating. I know about text debating and that I've used to do it before, right? And stuff like that. And then what he's not understanding is the extrapolation, right? Is the inference that is logically indicative to propose an assertion. Well, a claim without furnishing of reasoning would be an arbitrary. He doesn't understand that. But he's trying to argue against the initial statement, right? Where I said it doesn't exist, and then I said I know about text debating, and he's saying how can you know about something that doesn't exist, right? And you literally did.
No, I didn't.
Sure, nice.
I have the screenshot to prove it, but okay.
I mean, yeah, even the screenshots would prove it, but
yeah, the screenshots do prove my point. Yes, you're right.
Yeah.
Well,
fabrication once again.
Monkey Boy, you're objecting that he's taking the freaking arbitrary stance, or you are in this case, like in the point.
So I made the extrapolation to the point, or why I asserted a premise, and the extrapolation is the logically indicative reasoning as to ascertain a view. And without that, there would be no furnishing as to represent a claim, because then the claim would be arbitrary. But he keeps claiming, no, you initially said this, right? And he said the extrapolation is just addition to what you said later, right? It's just like something added later. But it sequentially follows as to why. I told him it's a necessary precondition. The conditional state of the claim is dependent to the actual preconditioning of the extrapolation, which is the reasoning. I need the reasoning to entail the claim. If I do not ascertain the reasoning to propose the claim, I would retract the claim because I don't have the reasoning to actually fulfill the assertion of it. But he keeps claiming, oh no, you initially said it. So I said, now we're in a false dichotomy. Either he proves in one point, right, in two state of affairs, that I said, one, it is invalid, right, text debating, and then later I said it is valid, or the second dichotomy is the condition and argues that it doesn't necessarily need a preconditional state. If I claimed that the claim I proposed is necessitated on preconditioning, then he would have to argue against the necessity for the precondition to facilitate the claim.
So your basic
he doesn't want to contend the fact it's not a false dichotomy. And I asked him, is it a false dichotomy? He said, I'm not going to make that argument.
Oh, so you're basically saying that you're taking the precondition that you would have to have some kind of proof. So you're taking the agnostic stance, right?
No, I'm saying I need reasoning, and I'm the one proposing the extrapolation and the claim. But he's trying to segregate the reasoning or the extrapolation from the claim, saying this is what you initially claimed, and your extrapolation is just addition that was made later, so I can ignore that. Even though the extrapolation of why I later made it was to extrapolate on why I made the claim. It's the reasoning to fulfill the indiction of proposing the claim in the first place. It's what furnishes the claim.
I need you to say that again. I'm not gonna lie. I'm texting.
Okay, so I said that it was preconditional. The extrapolation is preconditional to why
Yes.
I made the claim. And then he says, but the initial claim, so I can ignore it. But he's not understanding. I gave the claim and then later gave the reasoning as to why I facilitate the claim.
Oh, so you're basically giving, like you're negating the fact that text debating is real, right? Or is that his sense?
Yeah, no, that's mine. That's mine.
Okay. So if you're taking that, then you're basically taking the negative standpoint. But in this case, you're trying to facilitate. I think it's true. Then you're saying, well, a condition has to be met for that to be true, right? So in this case, you would have to prove it. That has to be real. Obviously, acknowledging the fact of the claim because y'all were engaging in dialectic.
Sorry, your mic is like cutting out.
Hey, let me restart my phone. Anyways, let's just do this real quick. So basically, you're just taking the negative stance, and then you want to fulfill it by some external virtues, and then you're asking him, precondition. The precondition has to be fulfilled based on some stuff. So basically, like I guess, like
wait, here, let me make it more. I think you're also kind of maybe I'm not making it very like transparent. So I made claim. He denied the claim. So then I gave extrapolation as to why I made the claim. He ignores the extrapolation, saying I'm only attacking the initial claim, which was P and not P, when I said it exists and then I know about it existing, or whatever. Right? So then he's saying, well, you're saying it exists, and then here you're saying it's not existing. But that's a semantic issue that he's conflating, right? And then I made an analogy. If I say unicorns exist, right? If I'm arguing about the ontology of a unicorn, and I say it petaphysically exists, but it doesn't. Hold on, someone's muting me. Yeah.
Anyways.
So if I make the claim that of a nomological,
that was me. I'm bad.
If I'm talking nomologically about unicorns' existence, right? It's a nomological thing, right? The nature of existence, and then I make the claim unicorns petaphysically exist, but then they don't nomologically exist. That's not a contradiction. There's no contradiction entailed because those are different criterions of framework in which the ontology of a unicorn revolves around. So me saying exactly. So when I said that it exists, and the reason I said, or when I said it doesn't exist, and the reason I said it doesn't exist is because the validity of it is rudimentary, right? So it doesn't follow its logical existence in the case of its validity, right? To being an adequate existent like framework. Thus, it's invalid and doesn't exist through validity. Validity doesn't exist. Thus, it does not occur as a viable standard.
Oh yeah. So it's not a contradiction. You're just denying one.
But he keeps trying to ignore the extrapolation, right, and the reasoning as to why, right, the validity part. He keeps ignoring the validity part, saying you said it exists and then said it didn't exist. But I'm saying, well, yeah, but I'm giving the reasoning as to why I said that, which is necessary to why I facilitate the claim in the first place. It's a necessary precondition. So now it's a dichotomy of either he proves I said in one point it's valid then invalid, or he proves the preconditioning is not necessary.
Yeah, I think that's agnostic stance because, like, literally, a precondition is like some criteria for something to be performed. And then they're also saying, well, you're also taking the premise that being, it could also exist but not exist at the same time, right? But it doesn't share the same features because one could deny something, but then one can also deny something that's completely irrelevant to that. So that'd just be agnostic.
Well, he said he proved that I contradicted myself from saying it exists and doesn't exist. But he ignores the aspect of validity. I never said it exists validly and then say it exists invalidly. So that's what he keeps ignoring, which is him ignoring the extrapolation. So in order for him to ignore or dismiss the extrapolation, he must first have an argument presenting that it doesn't necessitate preconditioning to facilitate the claim. Only then can he argue against the contradiction without validity as an aspect.
Okay, so
that's one part of the dichotomy. The other one is where he accepts that validity is an aspect. So now he has to prove in one state of affair I said it's valid, then another part I say it's invalid.
Okay, so
but he doesn't want to present a false dichotomy or argue against the dichotomy. He just circulates to the fact of my initial claim, right? The exists and doesn't exist. That's all he's attacking. So there's no argument. It's an arbitrary without reason.
Okay.
That's all right. So I guess you can give your judgment on that point. I mean, it's pretty obvious about that.
Wait. Hiccup. Is that what happened?
So pretty much what was happening was we were talking about the whole is debating a thing. Spink initially said he would text debate Monkey Boy. Monkey Boy said that it was not a thing. He did not extrapolate on that point until later.
Wait. Who is he referred to?
Monkey
And him. So
Spink said that he would text debate Monkey Boy. Monkey Boy then said he wouldn't do it because it's not a thing or that's not a thing. Then Monkey Boy extrapolated on that later. But before he did that, I said it was a thing. And then he asked me if I wanted to debate that. And I questioned, do you want to debate if that's a thing or not? So with that whole thing going on, he said, I even verbatim stated after his extrapolation on it being valuable or not, I said that doesn't matter if it's valuable or not, because that's not what I was talking about. I was talking about, I said, you made the claim that it's not a thing and then said it is a thing. So that's what I was talking about. So now he's specifically asking me, okay, well, I was talking about the extrapolation on if it was viable or not. So you would have to prove, one, that I contradicted myself on its viability, or you have to prove that it's a false dichotomy or something like that.
No, it's either of the dichotomies or the dichotomy is wrong itself. I said you either contend the precondition, right? Because you only want to attack the claims without the conditioning of the extrapolation. So that means you have to make an argument against the necessitation of the precondition of extrapolation to fulfill the claim, or you just accept the fact that you need to accept the extrapolation and then prove the contradiction with the extrapolation, or prove that this dichotomy is false.
okay. So I'll give the verdict to Monkey Boy for these few reasons, right? So the reason why I give verdict to him is because, right, he asked, like, basically he was arguing this guy named Spang or whatever, and then he gave extrapolation as to why it exists, and then you came and said it does exist or something like that, and then he basically proposed two dichotomies, and you asked him to prove the false dichotomy, something along those lines, and then that's what I got from there. Or is there any other stuff that happened? But I think I forgot. But yeah,
No, that's pretty much that far.
Yeah, he just asked you to prove the false.
Okay, so now that
he asked me to prove it.
Well, yeah, it's your burden to prove it's a false dichotomy, unless you accept the dichotomy and choose one of the two. And if you deny, but if you deny both, that means you'd have to prove it.
Yeah, and then basically, I guess.
Yeah, but you're not understanding my argument.
Go ahead.
And then one of the dichotomies.
Yeah, so my entire argument revolves around.
I was talking about nemesis.
Okay, then one of his dichotomies was like a precondition where something has to be fulfilled. So if he gave his extrapolation, but then also told you to prove a burden, then you did not fulfill your premise, because your premise was initially that it does exist, or that's your opening position, right? And then you're basically assuming that it's true, and then you're saying, well, that'd be a false dichotomy because you gave two positions. But he slid the extrapolation. He's saying, well, that's the most rational conclusion because a precondition has to be met, which is a part of the dichotomy itself.
Okay, so I get what you're saying, but what I told him was I wasn't talking about the validity. When I told him he contradicted himself, I was talking about how he said it wasn't a thing, and then further
that's
said
the point. Then there's no contradiction.
Can I finish? Can I finish? Okay.
Yeah.
So okay. So with that being stated, I told him where he contradicted himself by saying again before I got interrupted that it wasn't a thing, and then saying it is a thing, and he participated in it, but it wasn't viable. That's what he said after the fact.
Okay,
it wasn't viable and rudimentary. So I've already proved where he contradicted himself. The viable thing, I even told him earlier that I would attack if it's viable or not, but that wasn't my initial premise.
In your conclusion, you basically said that you said something about the false dichotomy being contradictory, but then later on, you didn't really give any other reasoning as to why it would be contradictory. You just said it's contradictory in your conclusion. I was not there, so I was not be able to know. But I just know that you just said that he contradicted himself, and then you're saying, well, you gave extra reasoning, even though you really didn't say in your conclusion.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah, but he's just asking for a condition being met, and then that condition has to be met, but it's a part of the dichotomy itself. And then, wait, what happened on the validity point again? I was not paying attention to that.
Okay, he's not understanding. When I said it doesn't exist, I'm saying it doesn't exist viably. Then in another state of affairs, I'm saying it exists. Saying it doesn't exist viably and then saying it exists do not follow. It exists eviably or inviably. So there's no contradiction because he keeps ignoring the fact that there's a precondition to why it is indicative of the assertion to facilitate it. So the claim it is not viable or it doesn't exist is because it's not viable. But that means, but he rejects that, saying, "No, I'm talking about the initial claim." But he's not understanding. If I propose it is preconditioned by something, that necessitates that only through this can it be the case. That's what a precondition is. So only through it being not viable would it not exist. That's my argument. But he's not understanding that at all.
Okay.
So there's no contradiction because he's. So I'm saying, okay, well, if that's that means if you want to dismiss my precondition, you would have to refute the necessity for it, in which he hasn't done.
Okay. So basically, he's saying, well, he's basically saying, I guess, is basically a performative claim in which he's saying, well, it lacks the vulnerability to basically do these things because he's saying that it's in viable, and he says a precondition has to be met for him to basically do something that is viable. He's saying it's inviable because of these extrapolation that he said, and then he just gave a dichotomy: either you appeal to this position or the other position. And then I guess he gave another precondition for that too. So
in no aspects, I'm gonna be honest, is he winning this? Like, I mean, my argument modally follows. Like, unless he's gonna deny preconditional modal systems, which would lead to modal collapse, and then that's another argument that we're not gonna get into. But no, my argument necessitates on a precondition, which he's not understanding. Like he just like drowned that out the entire time. So I'm saying only through the non-validity does it not exist. He kept ignoring that, saying, no, there's a contradiction. But I'm saying, no, I said it doesn't exist, but only by virtue of this does it not exist. So only in the state of affairs of this precondition would that follow. But he's saying, oh, but you said this. But he's ignoring the precondition. So in order to dismiss it, right, if you ignore it, I can still get a point. If you want to dismiss it, you would have to present the lack of necessity for a precondition, which he's not giving an argument, nor presenting the fact that I ever said that it was viable and not viable, because I actually never said that. And then he's not proving that the dichotomy is false. So he literally just lost.
I don't have to prove if it's viable or not viable because that's not my argument.
But that's your burden.
Okay, so
it doesn't matter if it's your argument.
Hold on. Okay, so you saying that's not a thing, and I never do it at 7:52, and then later saying I know about text debating, dumbass, at 7:55, right? 7:55, 2 minutes after, and I've been debating longer than you ever have. I know about it. I used to do it. It's not viable and prohibited in all codifications and debate forums and all of this other shit. So with that being stated, you acknowledged its existence and even said you did it yourself, but you're saying it's not viable. You're not saying it's not viable. You're not saying it's not real because it's not viable. You're saying it's real.
I am.
Did it. You have done it. It's just not viable. You never stated it's not real.
So the reason,
not viable. I have it right here verbatim.
You're continuing to not listen. So when I said
I'm listening to you. Oh my god.
So then, if you listen, you would understand.
I just
okay, that's
I have
fine.
it right there.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm not contending what I initially said. So when I said it doesn't exist, what I said about the extrapolation was it's preconditional to the claim. What from that is not understood? Do you understand that?
Wait, Nemesis, looking right here. Look right here. Because it doesn't say that at all. I'm just saying.
Okay, Hiko, I'm trying to make it transparent to you. Well, no, I said this in VC. And also you didn't even show the fact I said in text that I extrapolated. Okay.
So a negative claim could be preconditional, but a claim that you're basically asserting cannot be post-conditional until you give some kind of background knowledge. But if the other party does the exact same thing, then it's going to just go there. So you want to go to conclusion to a third party.
I'm trying to make it very simple for Hito. I'm not even trying to argue in bad faith. I'm trying to make it transparent so he can actually understand. I'm not just trying to win. I'm trying to maybe actually listen. I'm saying, okay, so listen. So I'm saying it doesn't exist by virtue of its non-validity, and only by virtue of its non-validity. So if you're going to make the argument ignoring the precondition, which is the necessity of that state of affairs, so only then would there be a truth maker, you're ignoring my position because my position isn't the fact that it just doesn't exist, unless you're going to contend the necessity for the precondition. Is that understood, or is it still not?
Wait,
Okay, so I'm not understanding.
Tables? Are you using the truth tables?
Moonrider, Sam, a woman one more fucking time. Do it.
Okay, so you're not understanding, which I don't understand why you keep trying to make me understand something, and I keep telling you I understand it, but you're not understanding my point, and then interrupt me before I even finish. So here's the point. Here's the point.
Didn't understand.
Okay, so here's the point. Here's the point, right? You asked me before there was a recording.
I just made the point.
Okay, can I? No, okay, so you asked me if I understand you, and I'm trying to reiterate what I understand. Okay, so this is my point, right? And you're like proving it. You keep interrupting me while I'm trying to answer your question, and then you expect me to answer another question after you interrupt me. So are you gonna actually let me finish?
Wait, I just want to ask a question for clarity.
Okay, so this is you literally proved my point. Thank you.
I just said I'm asking a question for clarity.
You asking a question. You asked me a question before. I tried to answer. You interrupt me. Now you want to ask me another question for clarity, so I can answer that one. And and then I'm gonna try to answer that one. You're gonna interrupt me and ask me another question.
No, I'm
this
just
is a reoccurring thing. You just did it twice in a row.
No.
So I'm not gonna answer your question.
Do you know what clarity means?
I'm not gonna answer your question.
Are you guys still debating?
I'm not gonna answer your question until I'm finished.
Are you guys still debating?
No, so we went to conclusions. That doesn't even matter. So here's my thing.
Oh my God.
Before anybody joins,
can you explain to him when I say for clarity to understand what he's about to say?
Okay.
Well, if you just be quiet and listen, you'll understand what I'm about to say.
Okay.
I'm asking
your question would be self-evident.
Oh my
your question
God.
would be answered.
No, it wouldn't.
Your
because
question
you're going to say
answered.
something. No, because I don't know in relation to what is this being said.
Okay, it's in relation to the entire debate. Your point. It's in relation to your point. I just answered your question.
No, you didn't.
So
let me ask
my
the
whole
question.
point is right.
Wait.
So
oh my God,
before anybody joined VC.
Okay, Nemesis, you already gave me verdict, right?
That doesn't even matter. I don't even care.
Because if I win, I'm just
trying to make him understand. You can go ahead and leave then. You can go ahead and leave then, because I'm still gonna keep talking. I don't care. So my whole thing was before the debate even became a big debate, and it was just me, him, and VC. He asked me where he contradicted himself, and I told him where. And then after that, he extrapolated on. Well, it's
I didn't
not
later.
Okay. That's fine. After that point, he said, "Okay, I'm not talking about if it's a contradiction based on my initial claim. I'm talking about the extrapolation on its validity." When I told him that's not where I was telling him, that's where he contradicted himself at. I even told him where he contradicted himself, and he asked me later. He asked me later if I was going to debate him on that whole little validity part, and I told him that I would do that. So I don't understand why we're still here.
Oh my God, he just overtalks. Hito, that means we're not at odds. There's nothing to debate about.
Okay, so you're not understanding.
We have different premises. We're not at odds. Our ideologies are not in opposition. My position is that it doesn't exist through validity, and you're arguing that it exists generally, conceptually, or can be performed. That's not what I'm arguing at all. I'm arguing validity, but because you're ignoring that.
And I told you that's not what I was talking about.
Okay, that's the point why there should be no debate. But even then, you lost because you ignored the fact I said like a million times. My position is preconditioned. Well, yeah, you ignored the preconditioning.
Your initial question, your first ever question when joining VC was where I contradicted myself. You didn't ask where I contradicted my validity statement. You didn't ask that. You asked where you contradicted yourself. I told you where you contradicted yourself.
You're not understanding. You're not understanding. If I ask you, Hiko, matter. I'm gonna just call you Hi. To be honest,
that's fine. It doesn't matter.
Hey, Hi. You're not understanding. I already said in text extrapolation. So when I came in VC, the intent of my position was everything I said, everything, not excluding part of what I'm saying. Okay. So if you're gonna exclude extrapolation, then okay, that would be a contradiction. I agree. If I said it exists, then doesn't exist, external to extrapolation. But I literally made it clear in VC, it's preconditioned, meaning it necessitates a conditional state. So without the extrapolation, that means I will relinquish my position. So we're not at odds. If you're not contending the fact of it not existing viably, then I don't care. But if you believe that I'm talking non-viably, then you also shouldn't care because I'm not. So we're not at odds. I'm talking about validity. You're talking about ontology. What? I made this a million times clear. I brought a modal logic. I literally said it's preconditional. And I explained a million times what a precondition is. I said without the extrapolation, I don't hold the point. The point would be arbitrary. I said this a million times.
And I told you a million times that we were debating the same thing then.
But we're not, because you're talking about the
without. I literally just said that. You agreed to it. I said we weren't debating the same thing.
Are we talking about with extrapolation or without?
Oh my God. So I told you what I was debating.
It's a binary question.
Actually, it's not a binary question.
It is. What I just said, it's a binary question. I want to.
Just because you made it, okay. So you have all authority. Can you like shut the fuck?
What do you mean?
What?
I'm proposing a binary question,
and I'm telling you, it's not a binary answer that you're going to receive.
Oh, then I don't care for the answer because I'm not.
So then I don't care for the question. Where the fuck are you? What?
So okay, so then you lost. Bye. We're done.
Okay, then leave. What the fuck?
Well, I mean, you're the one who could leave.
No. I'm good. You
got embarrassed.
I didn't get embarrassed.
Incompetent. You're so incompetent. Cool. You didn't even understand the fact what a preconditional is.
Right.
Do you know what a preconditional is?
Right. Yeah. No. I'm incompetent. So you gotta like. I don't know. I don't know.
Okay. Great. Well, you are.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Right.
Okay.
So yeah. Okay. So anyway, like I was saying.
Let's see what BS he's gonna say.
Like I was saying, Nemesis. I was talking about his initial point of it. That literally verbatim states, unless I'm wrong and I cannot read, that's not a thing and I'd never do it. That initial statement, that's what I attacked. That's what he asked me if we wanted to debate. And he said, okay, we can do VC tomorrow. That was, I think, yesterday. So his whole validity argument is not what I was talking about. And me and him both even established, he just established not even 2 minutes ago, that me and him were not on going against each other. He was talking about validity. I was talking about something else. And then if that's the case, his point is hold up.
You just agreed.
Like so
he agreed. He's ignoring my extrapolation.
No, I didn't say that.
You just
said
did.
that's not what I was debating.
Didn't he just say he ignored it?
I just said that's not what I was debating against you about. I told you that's not what I was debating. Like my scan even shows right here where it says it doesn't matter if it's.
You literally just said initial statements, right? And he's ignoring the precondition.
I have the scan right here where it says it doesn't matter if it's viable or not. And you even it's right here. We can debate if text debating is a thing or not. That was before you like extrapolated.
We're not talking about that.
Oh! So wait, hold on.
That's a nice Reddit.
When I try, so, okay, that's funny. That is funny. So you ignore my like initial premise, right? And I'm supposed to just adhere to what you're saying.
You guys puked Nemesis the troll, bro.
I don't know.
Yeah, no one's ignoring what you said.
You are
really clear. I understand.
You don't.
I do. If you want, I can say
okay. No,
you can't. If you want, I can say it, and you can tell me if I understand it or don't.
You don't.
I do.
You don't, but it's okay.
I mean, that's a claim. What's the argument that I don't understand?
Yeah. Anyways, this doesn't matter, but like Seb lost a wife one yesterday. Crazy.
That'll be I guess.
Okay, well, you
hey,
lost
Monkey
to me
Boy,
today.
real quick.
That'll be I guess.
Sure.
So you base your planetary Luffy scale off of what's his name?
NL, yeah.
Yeah.
Lightning.
No. What do you base the amount of energy within that lightning on?
What do you mean?
Well, you are aware that it takes different amounts of electricity to travel through different quantities of air, humidity, stuff like that.
You kind of sound like Trini, but
I've never actually met Trini. I have met Demi.
Nintendo is Trini. He's Trini.
But you
I
said
have not.
Continue.
I had that shit started like years ago, and if I hear that again, I'm gonna cry.
Well, I wasn't talking about the rate of speed of lightning.
No, the amount of energy required to travel through air changes upon what is in the air and the actual electron voltage itself.
Yeah, but that wasn't a part of the scale.
If you can't determine what energy would be necessary for it to travel, then how would you determine it?
Because it wasn't about the travel of the electricity.
Was it about the quantity?
Yeah, it was the amount of electricity that was output. He says the voltage. The only thing that mattered was the voltage.
Oh, okay. I forgot he named him like that.
Yeah, he gave a value. So.
Tender, remember one time you said you gave me, bro? That was funny, bro.
Wait, Tendo, you gotta be. Let's see how irrational this other guy is in comparison. Do you know what a precondition is?
Yeah, it's a hypothetical, conditional, substantial, some thesis of syllogism.
Yeah, but you asked me what that conditional statement is. Yo, mentality.
You know what a precondition is, right? It's a condition for something to be prior in necessitates. That's like common sense, right? Everyone knows this.
Yeah.
Does someone here? Wait, does someone here not know what a precondition is?
You guys want to know about inaccessible cardinals?
I already know. Me and Reaper are equal. Don't sit there.
Google.
Hold on, chill out.
Wait, who's this new guy who joined? What's your name?
No, but I just
Rabbit cage. How do you say your name?
And Natality getting packed by his own mom.
Who's Rilla?
Rabbit cage. Is that how you pronounce your name?
Yeah. If you want an argument to debug
wait, the dude who just asked about cardinals.
Yeah, who asked an infinite order?
How do you pronounce your name?
He said it was an infinite ordinal. Like what? It literally says
you, the guy with the red PFP who just joined, asked about cardinal or whatever.
The only if anybody know more about it, but my name is Rillo.
Okay, Rillo. Do you know what a precondition is?
Who?
You know what a precondition is, right?
Type it in chat. Your mic is
precondition. Okay, a precondition.
Bro, like, how do you, bro? He's just trying to get the definition. He doesn't know. Stop asking him. Like he's just trying to get, like, literally, you just have pre and condition. Like it's literally English language.
Yeah, but the fact that this Hiko, whatever, this idiot, did not understand what a precondition was like.
Nigga gotta call me an idiot because he's mad. That's insane.
I'm not mad. You're just like
the fact that you gotta resort to like calling me names. Could you think that's gonna hurt my feelings? It just proves that you're upset to some degree.
I don't have the intent for hurting your feelings.
Yeah. Well, everybody understands what a precondition is, so you must be an idiot. So yeah.
Wait. Wait. Let me answer the guy. He basically said he said. Is there anything beyond like an infinite ordinal? Well, this ZFC cardinals.
So I just want to know, Hiko. Did I contradict myself with the viability? Did I contradict myself with that?
No, like his only argument for that is saying, well, you took one position and the other position, even though those two like accounts are functional. Like basically, how you're
the two accounts had a condition he ignored. That's literally it. I mean, one account and another, which were in contrary with each other, but
basically, if you have like two variables, like one is contrary to the other one, then obviously, if you take both standpoints, you're contradicting yourself. But if you didn't, and they're just like two variables, one is basically conditioned off this being, and another one is conditioned off the same thing, but it has no like similar features, and you can basically deny one, and then you can still have the other.
Mm-hmm. That's the whole point of him. What he was trying to debate. He was just trying to make it vacuous of their actual precondition, so then it would follow. Because that's the only way it would follow. Even though there is no disproving the precondition, because that's the state of why the condition. I literally said it would relegate my position, in which I would retract my assertion. So he had to. He only had one consequent: loss. It's like literally not disputable. It was either he lose or he loses. If he would have understood in the beginning that wasn't my position, we wouldn't have debated. But instead, he just wants to overtalk and then act like I'm not overtalking or not understanding what he was saying, which I did. The point was he wasn't understanding a condition. He lost.